Spider-Man Noir. I don't know what I was expecting here. Hello there, namaste. So I finally finished watching Spider-Man Noir, and I got to say it wasn't what I was expecting. I went into this, especially after Into the Spider-Verse, which I've still only seen the first film of. Nicolas Cage as Spider Noir just seems like a perfect fit. It absolutely seems like it would be amazing. The problem is, it wasn't executed thus. The whole film tries to sell itself as like you can watch it in Technicolor, promotion for like, oh, when they start adding color to films, or you can watch it in black and white. However, this series is not meant for black and white because anyone who knows anything about cinematography and lighting knows that when you light for black and white films, you need to highlight the darks and higher contrast because it's harder to pick up. All they did here was they shot it in multicolor and then put a filter of black and white on it without even trying to color correct anything. So a lot of the darks start to blend into one another. Why? Because they didn't bother actually taking the time to make it seamless. And that's one of the things that absolutely bothers me. And the femme fatale. I know what a noir is like. I was expecting the femme fatale to die at the very end, which seems justified with her manipulating, well, Ben, with her basically using him to get what she wants. Has no problem selling him out because, oh, what I want will be saved. Completely heartless woman. And you get to the end of the films to see them die. That's what I enjoy because it's like you feel bad for them. They're kind of a product of their environment, but at the same time, it doesn't justify the fact that they're being evil just because they're a product of their environment. So even though you feel bad that they've died, it's justified that they've died. And of course, she doesn't die. Nicolas Cage as the Spider, I gotta say, I did enjoy it. But this is way too cliche. I honestly think it would have been better if it was they had a story going throughout, but it was a villain of the week. I think that would have been more enjoyable. Who was constantly fighting, the veterans from World War One. I think that would have been a better running course throughout the entire series because it reminds you of like classic series where it's a villain of the week. You open a cereal box and you have the comic book. You have everything. It's a villain of the week. I think it would have been better here than a constantly going, let's lead into the next episode, lead into the next episode, lead into the next episode. I think it would have been nice to have a whole story throughout where he's trying to deal with the Kingpin, which wasn't the Kingpin, and then he's still trying to deal with the villain of the week. And I've been hearing people praising this and actually enjoying it, and I guess it just wasn't made right for me. And that's who it should be targeting. Me. I am the director. But that's the thing. I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't have a great time watching it. I was watching it with my wife, and the entire time I was just kind of like, okay, let's get to the end of this. I didn't skip it or anything. My wife was wanting to watch it at a faster pace just to get through it or skip scenes because it's just like this is filler. This is filler. And anyone who's gone through, guess what? A villain of the week, the majority of it is filler. It's a villain of the week. The villain of the week is the filler because the villain of the series is the main villain throughout. But you still have something enjoyable to watch. The majority of it was all filler, but it wasn't a filler that made you feel satisfied because it didn't really get the story. It didn't feel like you were getting anywhere each episode. There wasn't a story in each episode. It was just there as another stepping stone for the overarching story. And that does work, but right here, for some reason, I was watching it black and white, which it wasn't shot for black and white. They had Nicolas Cage, which absolutely was amazing. And then in the time period, I gotta say, I did enjoy that time period. It was like the 1930s, early 1940s, the Great Depression era, like perfect time to have it, right after the First World War. As they called it, the Great War. I liked it. It's like, how can they possibly go wrong? Well, for me, the first big red flag was when I was watching it black and white. It wasn't shot for black and white. And then they didn't have the typical villain of the week. And then, of course, you get to the very end, and the femme fatale isn't truly a femme fatale. She's just an annoying, obnoxious woman. But in the end, this series wasn't for me. I can't say it was a thumbs up. I want to say it was like definitely like nah, but maybe it was more like a meh. I watched it, but I kind of can't recommend it to anyone. So at the same time, yeah. Honestly, I just didn't care for it. I didn't care for it. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. But there are other reviewers I respect who did actually enjoy this. So it's like good for them. Maybe they found something in it that I didn't. I just didn't care to see. I just didn't care for it. For me, I was thinking something completely different. I think that was my fault. That was absolutely my fault for trying to think that there was going to be something more there. Anyway, I watched Spider Noir. I don't recommend it. At least watch one episode. If you have the inkling to keep checking it out, then it's probably meant for you. If you're like my friend, watched one episode, we're like, huh, it's good, and you never continue it, then obviously it's not worth seeing. Thank y'all for watching. Talk to you next time. Toodles!
You guys got a video? So bad.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait, where's that?